Welcome back to Netball Unlocked. It's been a minute, but we're here for our first ever off-season episode. The term off-season might sound relaxing, but it's been anything but that, leaving us with a mountain of things to discuss. But just as we were preparing our comeback, Paul has had to dip out, so I'll be steering the ship for this one. But you'll be pleased to hear I'm not alone. Fan favourite and friend of the podcast, Kerry Almond, is alongside me to help get into everything that has happened. So Kerry, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me back.
Tell me, how have you been? What's new with you?
Since I can't remember when it was we last spoke, but obviously finished national prem season with Oldham. I think we may have said that last time. But since then, I've just been getting stuck into the men's and mixed side. Obviously, that's my other thing. And the last couple of months has been heading to prep for nationals. We've obviously just completed the leagues, both our men's and mixed won their respective men's and mixed North leagues, mixed for the very first time. And yeah, this weekend we've got nationals down in Loughborough all weekend.
Wow. Tell me about nationals. How's that?
It's going to be a very long weekend. It runs Friday to Sunday, obviously run by Emna. We have mixed. We have 3 games on Friday, and then your groups get split into whether you fit into championship or whichever other levels you get to go into. More games on Saturday. Basically, if we win our group on Saturday, providing we're in the championship level, we then go to semi-finals. So hoping it's a favourable draw for the Saturday, but we won't know who we're going to face until Friday evening. So yeah.
That's so exciting. And you're coach, right? For listeners that might have forgotten.
I'm coaching, and I am also going to be playing as well this weekend. We had trials, and we had some really good defenders come in, but none of them were available for nationals. So silly old me is now going to run around as well as trying to coach, and yeah, it's going to be a hectic weekend. But I've got an able assistant in Tom Noakes, who very many netball people will remember as Thunderbear from many years ago. Also, he's a great junior coach at Oldham as well, and obviously a former player for our mixed club as well. So he's going to be helping me out on the coaching bench this weekend. So I'm sure we'll be fine.
It's definitely not like you, Kerry, to come back in to play again when you've said you wouldn't.
Well, at the end of the Prem season, I think I put out a post on Instagram. I think everyone's taken that as I was actually retiring, but fully from netball, but not quite. I don't think I ever will really stop playing fully. I think you might always see me like on a Tuesday evening in a local league somewhere, maybe at some point down the line, but certainly be taking a bit of a break after this one.
God, I'm going to pray for those people that come up against you even in the local leagues.
I think you need to pray for me because I'll be old.
Okay, prayers for everybody. Prayers up. Now, it's kind of like, where do we start, Kerry? Because it's been kind of crazy, hasn't it?
There's been a lot happening in the last, however long it is since the Super League finished. What is it now? 6 weeks? 5, 6 weeks, and obviously the last 2 weeks since SSN has finished as well. So yeah, it's been a hectic old time.
But a great time. What a time to be a netball fan when all of these moves and decisions and announcements are being made. So, like, we're going to try and cover a lot of that, some of that, most of that, as best we can. And I think probably makes sense for us to start with the Super League. We just finished, the last thing that actually we put out was a review of the game and then of the season. And we kind of started imagining who would move what, where, and why, and kind of gave our opinions. But now we have some answers. It's a bit of a patchwork in terms of who's announced, who's not announced. And just before we came on, you were like, Chloe, there's more's just come out. So it is a live show, everybody. So bear with us. But the key things to know, I think, about the signings is that the window opened on the 7th of July, the day after the grand final, and it closes on the 29th of August. And the announcement window closes on the 5th of September. So that's why we're still waiting, I think, from some of the clubs. But what I'm thinking, Kerry, is that we're going to start with alphabetical order, go through the teams, see where they're at, and where we feel that they're sitting with what the decisions that we've made, that they've made. Does that sound all right?
that sounds good to me. Let's
Right,
go.
okay. Well, then we go to Birmingham. Birmingham Panthers. They finished eighth, bottom of the table in 2025. And we kind of got the news midway through the season that Joe Tripp wasn't going to be staying. So we knew that that was kind of in the works. We also knew that Gabby Marshall was retiring from netball, a decision that was kind of out of her own hands, really, based on what had happened to her. But now we know a lot more has come out. So Joe Tripp is gone. Also to that list, in terms of thank you posts, we've got Ziggy Berger, Jess Shaw, Jazz Brown, Gabby Sinclair, and Aaliyah Zaranika. That's a lot of players out, right?
Yeah, that's an awful lot of change for your second season. It kind of feels a little bit like Rhinos of a few years ago when the team list changed every year. So I don't know whether it's just new coach coming in Sonia and she's just gone, I want to start with who I want, or whether it was players' decisions to actually withdraw. Some of them, I guess, we'll never know.
Yeah, I think on this one, it's hard to look at that and not think that something's gone on. A level of that sort of exodus when you have effectively like the stars core that this team was built on have all left. So yeah, to your point, is it the arrival of Sonia McClamer as head coach, or did they want to go? Have they left for a reason? And that's the kind of fun and games I think we play with the transfer windows in all sports. Is like you don't necessarily or will never get the full picture, but it does look to me like something's been cooking over there in Birmingham to have had that experience, because these are some top caliber players. Jazz Brown, very much the heir apparent to the goalkeeper position in England netball. Jess Shaw as well is an England Rose. Gabby Sinclair, when she got her minutes towards the end of the season, I thought she was outstanding. So to have lost those guys, and I think the departure of Ziggy, what do you make of that? Because that seems to me like the super shot may have played a hand in that one.
I think, yeah, I would agree with that. I think when you looked at her last season, she's not a long range shooter. Um, and I was I was very critical of Panthers for keeping her on in super shot zones when she wasn't going to put them up. So I think that'll partly be that she isn't that long range shooter, and I think that might also be partly be Sonia just kind of wanting to stamp her intent on the team and her own kind of, her vibes and how she's going to go about coaching them. So I wonder if we'll see a lot more of the under 21s that are going to World Youth announce that team. Obviously, we've already had Izzy Kay coming over from Lightning's next gen team, and obviously she's part of that World Youth squad. So interesting to see what shooter she does bring in. Hopefully, they're going to keep Betsy. But very interesting to see what happens with Siggy. Like, is she going to end up at another team? Or is she going to go back to South Africa for a bit and spend some time with family?
Yeah, I think that's what's kind of curious with that decision, because it really, when you look, we don't know how the super shot is going to evolve in NSL, but when you look at the over in SSN and you look at the shooters over there, it very much is still a tall holding shooter kind of game, like Janelle Fallon Emard, Romelda Aiken George, Grace Wecker. The way that those clubs have still decided to build their teams, even with the super shot in play, still suggests to me that still, that tall holding shooter still has a space. But yeah, I guess, as you say, we don't quite know what that decision is, or where Ziggy Berger might turn up. But yes, what we do know, as you pointed to, Izzy Kay. That's very exciting, and probably a little bit of a hint back to Sonia's job, which she just left to become head coach. She was England Futures sort of in charge of that. Ruth Hughes returns, Michelle McGee, and Kira Rothwell, who departed from London Mavericks. Do you think of that?
I was extremely surprised that they let her go, because I think that when, obviously, before she had, I think it was her appendix surgery, during the season, she was their main goal attack. I don't think she missed a shot, and obviously she scored that game-winning super shot as well down in Brighton. Very surprised to see them let her go unless they had somebody big that they were going to announce, because obviously Mavs have only announced 9 players currently. So kind of pleased to see her back in the Super League. Interested to see how she does fit in out with a new team. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what she can do with pretty much a brand new team. Very interested to see. Well, very pleased that Ruth Hughes has been signed on as well, because I think she stepped up brilliantly in the absence of Gavin Marshall. Actually, at the start of the season, I think she stepped up as well when I think Jess Shaw was out for the first couple of games as well, and she had a great season. So really pleased to see that they've kept her on board.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Ruth is a nice centre court player that's really developing, and is very much like 6 spaces left. What is this going to look like for the Panthers? The window is closing, but yeah, I think we'll talk a bit more about London Mavericks and that sort of what you hinted to there with their 9 out of 10 players. But yeah, I think Rothwell is. I think that Super Shot has certainly given her that her ability to make them, she's incredibly accurate with them, a space in this league. But yeah, I wonder also with London Mavericks, when you looked at that squad last year, there were a lot of people that could shoot. So maybe, and still towards the end of the season, it didn't look like it was working. So yeah, interesting to see her pop up there. But she's back for another year. Exciting stuff. Then we turn to Cardiff Dragons, 7th in 2025 season. There's not been a lot of announcements out of Dragons. In fact, actually, the last time we were on the podcast, we did ask at the time what was kind of going on, because there were rumours of players that were contracted being told that they could open up dialogues with the clubs. There looked like there was an issue there, but we understand now that the funding gap that looked like there has been filled, so Cardiff Dragons will be in the season coming. We know who's not there, which will be Chelsea Beard, Elle McDonald and Selena Appleby-Prince, who had stepped in for Leah Middleton. But apart from that, Kerry, we don't know anything else.
Yeah, interesting one. It does make me wonder if maybe Siggy will pop up there. Who knows? There's a shooter spot open. So that is an option for them. They definitely need to find a strong backup for Georgia Rowe, who obviously a lot of people have kind of criticised for not being strong enough under the post. And for someone so tall, they can't really find her with ease, which they should be able to. But yeah, so some interesting questions for Dragons. I don't think we'll see too much change in the defence end. Obviously, hopefully Leah will be back recovered from her injury. I believe that AJ is signed on for another season. There's a bit of insider info for you. And looking at like players' Instagrams, like Jackie Newton is still in the country, so maybe she's staying. Who knows? But yeah, it'd be interesting. Like, some communication would be good. I think the Welsh netball fans would like a little bit of comms on what is going on there. They've had the Welsh Feather squad out, so interesting names in there. Ella Bowen, will we see her at Dragons? Is there a space for her at Dragons as well? Because I do believe that she won't be back at Rhinos next season. So who knows?
I mean, you've kind of with the social media insight. That has been very
Yeah,
much how we've all been playing it a bit.
yeah.
One of the tactics has been to see who a player is following, who their recently followed are, to see
I've
if
seen that.
that is. Yeah, I've loved that strategy. But yes, no, that's. Thank you for the news about AJ. That's great that she's coming back, because she was, I thought, brilliant the way she stepped up and in for Dragons. So if she is back, that's great news. And yeah, interesting that you raise Ella Bowen there. So for folks that aren't aware, the Welsh squad did come out, and Ella Bowen, who had been in an England environment actually through the pathways, has popped up as into the Wales Feather squad, which is really exciting. Obviously, with the Commonwealth Games, which is actually, Kerry, the kind of beast that's lurking in the back of the picture, isn't it, for a lot of this? So minutes and playing court time and combinations are going to be things that people are thinking about, and maybe is partly behind some of the decisions of players that we'll see popping up in places we might not expect. But yes, Wales have certainly. I mean, we had Claire Jones on talking about that how it works with Cardiff Dragons. So yeah, interesting, but we obviously have to hold the space because we don't actually have anything positively confirmed. But
No.
yeah.
Obviously, they do have a big gap in the sort of the defensive midcourt with Elle McDonald heading home, which is a real shame because she was such a gun for them last season. She did say that she hasn't played wing defence for about 7 or 8 years, but she stepped in there like nobody's business and just kind of owned that position, and yeah, she's going to be a huge loss for them in midcourt for sure.
Really agree. I think she was our wing defense of the season, I believe.
Mm.
So yeah, big miss. But yeah, big boots to fill. So that kind of leaves us with Dragons. Lee's Rhinos. Now, we've got some movement there, which has been quite exciting. We knew Jiva Mentor was going. She announced her retirement. We've also had the news that Ash Decker is retiring from netball as well. And not the only young-ish player retiring, actually. Aliyah Zaranika announced her retirement as well about 5 days ago, also on social media. So there is, I think, off the back of that, this kind of crunch that comes with this professionalization, right? This kind of attrition. You can't keep your, you have to kind of, for those that have been managing professional job and playing time, it looks like some of them are kind of getting to a decision where it can't be both anymore. It has to be one. And I think Ash sort of spoke about that in her retirement, or at least, gestured towards that. And then we have which is Jazz Brown from Birmingham Panthers, and Paige Reed is technically as a return. Joining them, as announced, is Joyce Mavula, Harriet Jones, and Cassie Howard. And Lauren Palmer has been announced as signing on to 2028. What are your thoughts, Kerry? What are you thinking?
I'm really interested to see this Leeds team. Obviously, Lauren knows what she wants, and she's obviously not afraid to go and get it, as she's shown obviously by Jazz going there, which obviously is a huge signing, because obviously Jiva does leave quite a gap. So having Jazz in there will hopefully kind of settle them down a little bit. It'll just be interesting to see who the other defensive players are in there. There's been rumblings of Sam-Marie Visser, who obviously that would be a brilliant pickup for them if that does happen. Who knows? I've not heard anything else about who the other defender might be, whether it's going to be Jess Haynes again, or whether there is somebody else somewhere that they're going to pick up, maybe from one of the next gen squads. I've heard bits and pieces from different people about different names, but I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what gaps they do fill, seeing how that shooting and works together, because I do think that Joyce and Paige could be quite a lethal combo, because Joyce proved last year that she will take those long shots on, and we all know that Paige will take those long shots on as well, and Harry isn't afraid to put them up. Obviously, Joy's going to be the strong one under the post to get the rebounds. I just think that could be a really good combo for them. The sheer strength and power of Joyce and the court craft of Paige. I'd just like to see Paige put the shots a little bit quicker. Is my criticism. But yeah, just interesting to see what they do with that mid court as well, because I would really like to see a bit more of Cassie Howard at centre this season.
She kind of had a bit of a breakthrough or breakout. She had a great season for Rhino. She was kind of this with Joyce and Cassie were kind of the bright lights for them. I completely agree. I think Joyce is just an unbelievable asset to have, and if Paige, I think Paige will chalk 2025 up to a tough one, like to have picked up that injury, to have stepped up in for England and then picked up that injury and then had to carry it through the season, and then come back at such a critical time for Thunder when minutes were being managed still, and it was quite a complex picture. So to come back to an environment where I think she'll have good solid minutes and have a great tall holding shooter, you'd like to think that those things will be good for the mind. And then, as you say, the shooting, she can be incredibly accurate when she wants to be. So maybe a matter of finding her feet, finding some confidence. And yeah, I mean, Jazz Brown to me is just such a coup to have acquired at goalkeeper. And as you say, I have also heard the Sam-Marie Visser rumours. And if that is the case, then you are looking at a back end of Jazz Brown, Sam-Marie Visser, and potentially Cassie Howard at wing defence, depending on who the centre is. And isn't that quite exciting? So that's a very different Leeds team.
It does. And I think obviously having Lauren in there with a contract extension already is sign of intent from Leeds, and it's certainly what they need, obviously, because they've had a lot of upheaval with the coaches, the number of coaches that they've had since 2021. I think they've been, this is Lauren number 5 now. So they do need a little bit of consistency, and then hopefully they can then get that with a squad as well. If Lauren builds a squad that she wants this season, hopefully then she can continue to that through into seasons after, because I think that's been a lot of Leeds' issues. It's been the constant changing in personnel, in coaching staff and in players.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also to invest in someone young as well, because Lauren is still, of the coaches on the scene,
Mm.
is the youngest. So to see that confidence, I think, is really cool. So yeah, that leaves us sort of ticked off with Leeds Rhinos. More to be announced is what we'll say. There's about half the team there, more to come. So that'll be exciting. Everybody still needs to be on social media to catch that. Now over to London Pulse. Winners, obviously, of the 2025 season. We just had one change, and that was at goal attack. So Nicole Briett leaves London Pulse, and her Protea teammate, which must be quite tough, comes in. Camillo Maseko comes in, and to a squad that is otherwise completely unchanged. Kerry, what do you reckon? Quite a power move.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a surprise that there's not very many changes on that Pulse team. Um, whether that was Nicole's decision to leave, possibly it is, obviously, because she married not long ago. But yeah, really interesting to see Masiko and how she goes. I didn't see too much for in the test series at the start of the year, but what I have seen from her, she is dynamite, and it could be an interesting combination with her and Sheen in there, or even having that moving circle with Sophie Kelly as well. So I think it just gives them lots of options. It gives all the other teams defensively something else to think about, because she does play very differently to Briett. So yeah, a different shooting end, but I think only having one change up just means that for them it'll be seamless. I think. I think the main thing for everyone is seeing that both Fumi and Liv stayed, because there's a lot of talk about them going over to Australia this year, but maybe they just want to try and go back to back.
Indeed, I think that was the move that Pulse made to very much off the bat of their victory to announce Fumi is staying, and then there was just a long pause. But it just seemed there was this statement that came out of London Pulse that was like, just going to stop that right there, and she's staying. But the decision Fumi sort of explained was of a combination of, this is our home, this is where she wants to be, and I think that bigger picture stuff is really important as well in these decisions that get made about signings. I don't think Fumi will be the only one that is factoring in where she is, family, things like that, into the decision. But yes, Maseko is unbelievably, like, when she's on, she's kind of unstoppable, a bit of a force of nature, really, on a netball court. And we've obviously been seeing her in a South Africa dress, alongside Elmarie van der Berg, who we know, Rolling Strucker, these really great shooters. So to kind of come in with Liv Sheen as your partner, potentially, along with Sophie Kelly, is, I think, very nice, and to have Liz Scholes feeding you as well, no small thing. So very interesting to see see the chemistry and how that builds. But we know the connection, I mean, is so strong already between Sheen and Scholes, so even if it takes a bit of time. Because I guess the other thing, Kerry, that we need to say is that if you sign an international shooter, or an international full stop, sometimes you have to wait a really long time before they make it to your squad.
Yes, as Karen Gregg will tell you every year. Yeah, yeah, I think. Oh, I mean, getting your players 3 weeks before the season is not good. So I think maybe that is a bit of a masterstroke from Sandberg, to keep most of the squad together, because they've already got those connections. So it's just a case of them building them with one player rather than 3 or 4 different ones. So we'll see how she goes, but I'm sure she'll be absolutely brilliant, and they won't miss Nicole Briett.
Yeah, I think it'll be very exciting. A lot of excited South African fans came out for that one, for sure.
Yeah.
South African fans are, you're a force, guys. So London Mavericks were still in London, the capital. They came fourth in 2025. Tamsin Greenway is now officially head coach. Camilla Buchanan was waved off goodbye. And quite a few of their players too. Amy Hepworth-Wayne, Kira Rothwell, Vicky Oyesola, Chelsea Blackman. There was no news about Emily Andrew, which just put a question mark by that. And in came the news of George Inga, which for listeners of the podcast, we had her on and she talked about this dream to come back. So fantastic storyline there for George to get that full-time contract. And then Jamie Van Wyk from South Africa comes in at the defence end. So the other players are Emma Thacker, Amelia Hall, Susie Liversidge, Ellie Ratu, Izzy Phillips, Gemma Donahue, and Razia Quashi. It's 9 out of 10. It was supposed to be 10 out of 10. I'm guessing. And actually, the announcement, Kerry would say, was in Regent Street in a women's sports space. Very exciting, something a bit different, but maybe not as planned. What do you reckon with that squad?
I have a feeling that they had a 10 and then something happened. So I wonder if something like the very kind of late retirement of Steph Fretwell from Sunshine Coast Lightning, whether that had something to do with it, because the snippet that they put out today, I think it was earlier today, about their last player was very much going to be Gabby Sinclair. So I just wonder perhaps whether they had signed up maybe Gabby Sinclair and then Steph retired, and if you're going to break a contract for anything, it's going to be an SSN. So yeah, it might not be that, but that's what I'm putting my money on. So I think they're probably looking to see who they can sign. It just seems a bit strange that Emily Andrew hasn't had a mention. They have today mentioned about Victoria Solar, obviously, continuing on with her rehab from her ACL injury. Obviously, we don't know how long that's going to take, but they're fully committed to supporting her. But no word on Emily Andrew, which is very, very strange. You normally, if they're not coming back, you normally do say goodbye to them. I don't know. Confused.
Yeah, that is well, I guess the gap is it could be an import that goes in, and Emily Andrew is one. So is that what's going to happen there? Nicole Bria is free. We know, right?
She is.
She's come out of London
But
Pulse.
then there is also a certain goal attack that George Inga used to play with at Steel and Tiana Mataro. So maybe they're going to try and get her, or maybe there's Shanice Beckford is recently free. So I mean, there's lots of options they could get, or they could just use Amelia Hall in there. They could use Susie Liversidge in there as well, and both wing attack, goal attacks. So I guess we shall see in coming weeks what they're doing. But interesting to see how that defence unit goes. A lot of people have been commenting about Gemma Donahue and Jamie Van Wyk, but Gemma Donahue does have a UK passport, I believe. So interesting to see if Jamie Van Wyk does play goalkeeper, because otherwise it does put a lot of pressure on Raz Quashi. But hopefully she's recovering from her injury as well, and she's fit and raring to go ahead of the season. Because a fit Raz Quashi is what Mavericks need.
I thought Raz had an outstanding season up until the point of her injury as well. So yeah, completely agree. I think that defensive end, if it fires, looks very good. Looks like it. And I think Mavericks have always had strong defense ends. It's always been the shooting end that's been the kind of thorn in their side. So I do think they need a good goal attack, whoever it is that does come in. As you said, there are plenty of international options around. So otherwise, I thought Susie Liversidge was really building into wing attack. We saw her at centre in the last couple of games. I thought she was really good there. But as an attacking centre, we don't really have too many of those around. Our centres tend to be more wing defence centres. So cool to see that. So yeah, I think in all, it's a very decent squad. I just think for me, what hinges on its success actually will be this 10th player. So yeah, I like your theory. I think I might be buying into your theory as well. That Steph Fretwell news was pretty significant, was it not?
So, yeah,
yeah,
because they'd said goodbye to certain players that were leaving at their end of season awards, but Steph hadn't said anything. So yeah, something. I don't think that was planned. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. But imagine if Tiana comes over and kind of rekindles that relationship with George Inga, who it is, by the way. It's absolutely wonderful to see her back in the league. I think she came in the last couple of games and did a great job for them. So hopefully she gets a really good pre-season under her belt, and I'm sure she'll be a threat. But her with Tiana again, that would be brilliant to see if that happens. if that happens. But who
If
knows?
that happens, well, it could happen. We wait to see. But very very exciting, and yeah, absolutely couldn't agree more about with the George news. So that leads us to Loughborough Lightning, second in 2025. This one's going to be
Who
short,
knows?
Kerry, isn't it? Who knows? Because we know that Bella Bayliss is not coming back.
Yeah.
We've had a thank you post. We know that Judy Gibson is retired, so we know there are two sort of gaps in a 10 there. But Lightning have only just sort of announced that they'll be announcing soon. So
Yeah, not too much to say. I think Bella Bayliss may end up at Rhinos. So I think that would make sense for her because I think she's possibly still at uni, so it's not too far to travel. I had heard that before the season ended as well, so that could be an interesting one. Her and Cassie Howard together could be a good combo, I think, if that comes off. Defensive wise, I wonder if obviously Selena Rapley-Prince has left Loughborough Dragon, so is she just going to go back into the Loughborough fold? Maybe next gen. Is Molly Hole going to step up from Lightning's next gen? Obviously made her debut last year in that Dragons away game when Jodie was ill or something. So she made her debut last year, so they could possibly bring Molly Hole up, or are they looking for something different? I don't think we'll see too many changes with Lightning. Obviously, there's been people that have muted Ella Clark moving, but I don't see that now because I thought she may, if she was going to leave, she may end up back at Mavericks, but I don't think that'll happen.
So, Kerry, with Bella Bayliss out, that keeps that Lightning mid-court then still quite, let's say, veteran, right? In terms of age and experience. Is that something that, if you're looking at Lightning and the way that the final ended, is that something that you thought that might be changed?
I think it's something that needs to be changed for Lightning personally. It's great. Obviously, they have such a good relationship between them and they do work so well. But I think we found in recent, like particularly last season, that when a team works them out, they don't have those changes to make. So I wonder if there will be some form of change there. Obviously, we can see Shadeen move into wing defence a little bit more. If they get another good defence, as if Shadeen stays, obviously. But I wonder if Jess Shaw might turn up there because obviously we don't know where she's going to end up, and there's not too many teams kind of left to announce there, so that might be an option for her, and she would be a good change up for Hannah. But obviously, she does play centre as well, so that's a possibility. But they definitely do need to look at that because those three are not going to be around forever.
That's really interesting. Jess Shaw to Lightning. I guess it makes sense.
Mm.
It would keep it fairly on the older side because Jess Shaw is not a spring chicken either. But sure, that experience. I mean, at the end, if it's Samantha Wallace-Joseph that they're feeding, then Jess Shaw has great experience having done that with Ziggy Berger for a really long time. So that makes sense. So very much still potentially a Premiership contending side if that squad mostly stays, but we'll see because we still have kind of two empty teams at this point. It's fun. Okay, Loughborough Lightning done. Manchester Thunder today, I can say, because it is Tuesday. We got the whole squad finalised, but after two quite blockbuster announcements, maybe the biggest so far of this league, right? Sophie Fawns. Elle Cardwell is the other in, so two SSN players coming to NSL, and on the way out, Paige Reed, who we've spoken about, and Elmarie van der Berg to Adelaide Thunderbirds in SSN. So what do we make of those inclusions?
They're not bad, right? I mean, Elle coming home, I think, is huge news. But she was very open and honest in her video about coming home and spending more time with family. Obviously, this season's been extremely tough for her. It's always tough being injured, but being injured when your family are halfway around the world, it must just be horrendous, and I really feel for her. But she said she's built some resilience, and hopefully we will see that. I think this is good for her because she'll play a lot of shooter And I think that's where she wants to be. I think that's her best position, because she's so strong. She's so annoyingly good in the air as well, and she's so clever with some of the takes she does. And I wouldn't want to be one of those Super League defenders going against her this year when you compare her with Sophie Fawns, Lois Pearson, and then obviously you have the feed-in. You could have Lois at wing attack. We've got Nat Metcalf back from maternity leave. You've got Emma Rayner in there feeding. You've got Amy Carter. So many options to put the ball into that circle for three incredible players, really. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Karen does with that attacking line. It's going to be interesting.
I think the versatility of this team, I mean, all the way through it is unbelievable, like very exciting. Sophie Fawns, for our UK listeners that might not be across SSN to the level that you and I are, Kerry, is she's 21. She made her debut in SSN at 18. So very young, so technically 4 seasons already under her belt. Was with the New South Wales Swifts alongside Helen Housby, who I understand is very excited for her on social media. You can see the comment under Sophie's post. And I think 6'1". And I think the thing with Sophie, when you watch her play, you get the impression she's not that tall because she moves incredibly well, but actually she's a unit. Like 6'1" with Elle Cardwell in there, that could be a very tall shooting circle. But as you say, maybe Sophie Fawns can drop back into goal shooter. We get Lois at goal attack. I think Lois Pearson, we kind of got the edge just at the end. She looked amazing, looked great, having come back from a very long injury, a very complicated injury. There was surgery involved. So, I mean, I think this is scary. I think it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, you could just the combinations that we could have in there, like just all of them. And I think it does give Karen a lot more options now. We may see more of Emma Rayner in centre this year, which I would really like to see, because she is very good defensive, very deceptive. A bit more of Amy in wing defence as well, which would be nice. I do think she excels there as well. I mean, she excels in centre as well. She's one of the really annoying players. I think defensively, for me, the only question mark would be the natural goal defence. I think all three of them are mostly goalkeepers. I think Elia could be an absolute fantastic goal defence, get her a really strong pre-season under her belt where she's playing a lot of goal defence and obviously a lot of change-ups in there. But yeah, looking good. So my plea to Karen is just, give Amy a rest at centre sometimes. I don't think her mum agrees with me on that one though. Her mum's like, no, Amy can just play, it's fine. But yeah, so many options in that attacking lineup that, yeah, I think Karen's got some headaches.
Karen, so Fawn sort of spoke about how that was a pull factor for her coming to the UK, because I think when you look at SSN, it wasn't as if there weren't goal attack positions going. She did sort of explain that she'd had, I think there were conversations with other SSN teams, but she wanted that experience of Karen Gregg. And then when you look at Karen's output as a attacking kind of coach, when you see Helen, when you see Elle, when you see Lois, like that's quite exciting, I think, for Fawns, as well as maybe like a bigger picture piece, coming over, trying something a bit different, getting minutes. I think was the other thing with the Swifts having signed Grace Becker the way that they did. But yeah, I think this is a squad that also says to me, I'm not ending up in the position that I was in last year in terms of injury, because we know that Thunder was so affected by that. So very exciting. And finally, on Fawns, when we were talking earlier about Maseko, she's not a diamond. So she could come over and do the pre-season, which I think is another big thing that I'm sure Karen will be delighted about.
Yeah, Karen will be thrilled with that one, that she can probably get her in before Christmas.
Yeah, get her playing. So getting her to meet everybody, getting her adjusted to the Manchester weather, because I'm sure it's a bit different from Sydney.
I'm sure Helen's already warned her to bring a big coat.
Right then, Nottingham Forest. They went so soon. It's hard to believe that that's already happened, but they did. Out the gate very early on, they finished 5th in 2025. Were in that top 4 race for a little while and probably kicking themselves about how that kind of ended. But we have a couple of ins and a couple of outs. So out goes Felida Kadondi and Freya Henschel. So we kind of expected that. I think those were the two sort of weak links in that side. And in comes Ane Retief, who popped up at Manchester Thunder to replace Nicholas Smith for a while. And Anya Williams, another Manchester Thunder product. Kerry, what do you reckon?
I think Ane is a good change for them. Obviously, she can play across both positions, and it just allows that change up, because I also do think that, you know, we could see Tash at wing defence and have an extremely tall back line. I would like to see a little bit more of Hannah Layton in centre this season. I do think, though, that they're kind of still in a little bit of the same position as last year. So Anya isn't a natural goal attack just yet. Obviously, she is exceedingly young. I think she's, 17, 18. And she's got so much potential, but obviously she's played most of her time at Super League at goal shooter. So be interesting to see how Chelsea does use her. She isn't afraid to put up a long shot. She will just turn and shoot. She's got so much confidence, and I'm sure a change of environment for Anya will probably actually do a lot of good. Working with different players, working with Chelsea as well. I just feel, again, similar to last year, that a lot is going to be on Rolene this season. And as the defences actually start to work her out, that could be even harder for them.
Well, suppose this season Anya was at goal attack a little bit with El Murray at goal shooter. Thunder were trying that as a lineup. So yeah, I think the exciting thing for Anya will be that coaching, the difference in coach with Chelsea, because Chelsea seems to be, Rolene has spoken a lot about how she's really enjoyed that. And interesting to see really how Forest kind of develop Rolene as well. Like, I think Rolene will probably know that the target is now squarely on her back. So it's about finding ways to kind of evolve that. So yeah, really interesting to see. I think it's a great move for Anya. I think court time. When you look at the Thunder team that is, if she had stayed, I'm not sure like what that would have looked like. So yeah, I think it's strengthened in the positions where it could have. So in theory, that makes Forest a better team. So we'll see how that sort of looks. And there will be, as for a couple of other players we've spoken about, a Netball World Youth Cup as well in between now and then. So that could be another great bout of experience for someone like Anya. But yeah, I think this is a good team. I like it.
I do like it. I think they've got lots of change-ups. I think their mid-court is certainly one of the strongest in the league. I think Iona Christian last season was just superb. I think that's the best that I've ever seen her play. Like she came back after having little Laurie, and she just looked so much stronger, fitter, faster. She was immense for them in mid-court. And obviously, like, Neve is a very cool, calm head as well. Like, they have lots of options across that mid-court, and that's their real strength, I think, is being able to deliver that ball into the circle. This season, they've just got to pop it up a little bit more, and not put all the pressure on Rolene. So hopefully Anya will step up. I do think that she will, her game will evolve with a little bit of different coaching. Obviously, she's been in the Thunder pathway since she was, I don't know, a little like 12 or something. I think obviously she's been one in and around there for years, and I think sometimes having a little bit of different coaching can help a player and develop them in different ways, and I'm sure she'll thrive in that environment. I'm sure she's super excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and actually there's a bunch of players in this team that will also be on international duty. We spoke about Netball, I mentioned Netball World Youth Cup, but Brie Grierson and Rhea Dixon, Jamaica. We've got some Scots in there as well. So it'll be a busy off-season for Forest players. But yeah, I think it's a good team. So that actually, Kerry, that gets us to the end of Super League. Where are we at with these teams? I guess I can't tell you to predict anything because we are missing some quite crucial intel. But bigger picture, let me ask you this. What do you reckon? How are you feeling that signing announcements are going? Do you like the way that it's been done? What's your preference? Because it feels very drawn now that we've sort of had SSN sort of in the middle, it feels like, oh God, why is this taking so long? Does it not? A little bit?
Yeah, that's always been my bugbear, because teams know exactly who they want and they will have the vast majority of their squad within a week, maybe two. It's too long for me. I get why, because they want to see if there's going to be any SSM players or ANZ players free. But I just think for fans and engagement, it's far, far too long. Too many teams have been very silent. Like, we've only heard from Loughborough today. We've barely heard from Dragons. We've only just been hearing from Panthers. I think that for all the bluster of, NSL 2.0 and the professionalisation, it hasn't really been very exciting. If anything, a little bit on the boring side. I've been more excited about SSN signings. I just think that the lack of fan engagement from some teams is poor, to be honest. I like how Forest just came in, got it done. This is who we are. This is what we've got. This is our team. And that was really exciting. And then it was just like radio silence for a couple of weeks from teams, until obviously then Pulse dropped their team, got involved with all the fan banter on Twitter, X, and then Thunder got involved in the fan banter on there as well. So it just needs more of that, and it just needs to be a little bit shorter in time frame, a little bit snappier for me personally.
Yeah, and I think also there's not been too much mainstream media interest, right? I think I've seen like sort of the local news in Yorkshire kind of picking up the lead stories, but it's been a bit quiet on that front. So in terms of like, is this making an impact 2.0, as you said, like what's the bigger footprint off the back of it, off the back of quite a successful grand final? Doesn't look like it's been quite sporadic, which is a shame, I think, because this, as you've kind of said, like, and we've been saying, has been quite exciting, I think, in terms of the movement that's been happening. Like what we can see already is quite cool. I quite like the one and done approach. And I'd like explanations. I like to know why, maybe a bit more detail. Maybe that's something teams might look into, like getting, when El Cardwell comes to the camera and explains the decision, and you get the bigger picture stuff. I think that's really powerful, especially when, those big moves are very exciting. So that's, I don't know. I wonder, because and also I think actually we need to say, because we have spoken about this on this podcast as well, is the overlap in the window coming is quite painful as well when you're a NSL player. And I'm aware that there have been SSN clubs approaching NSL players, but after they've been signed with, and it's your job. You want to know you've got somewhere to be. So as a player, like, you want to commit to someone, but if you're only finding out afterwards, like you're contracted, that this SSN team was interested in you, that's also quite frustrating. And it's something that Jace Bode, actually, of Adelaide Thunderbird, sort of came on and told us that needs to be aligned much better, because we all have interests in what's going on. So yeah, that we'll see if anything changes on that front. I can't see it. So, Kerry, very exciting to see that all come together for the next season. But I guess what we're building towards is a Commonwealth Games, and we also have an international block before it. And we've got some really exciting matchups coming up that we'll get into. But before all of that is the Netball World Youth Cup, and that is in Gibraltar from the 19th to the 28th of September, I'm going to say. I think that's correct. And I think here, we didn't have a Netball World Youth Cup last when it was supposed to be because of COVID. So this brings up this event that we haven't really had for a little while. And it's super exciting. I think we need to be, or I hope teams are putting their marketing and branding hats on, because you've got the stars of the future all in one place, playing up against each other. And let's talk about the England squad, because that came out, and that was quite interesting. Well, some curious decisions were made, I think.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. What's your reaction to that?
My immediate reaction, obviously, if people do follow me on social media, will have seen that I am absolutely gobsmacked that Jada Pekova is not in that squad. I thought out of everybody, she would have been the absolute shoo-in in that defence end. She has full international caps. She was last season's Young Player of the Year in Super League. She had a stellar season with Forest. Like, she was on form, she was superb. And yes, she is not the tallest, but she creates turnovers with her footwork, her speed, her elevation, and she just has a never say die attitude. And I'm not taking anything away from the other defenders that were picked, because they are all brilliant defenders. But I just don't understand why she's not in that team. I can see reasons for why Grace Smith wouldn't be in the team, because she is only 16 years old. So she does have another World Youth in her. That doesn't mean I necessarily agree with that, because I do think that if you're good enough, you're old enough, it doesn't matter whether you can go to another World Youth or not. Freya Henschel, again, I can see reasons why she wouldn't be picked. But still, I just think you've got a player that's just played a full NSL season, and we're not taking them. I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's just the Jada one that I'm just really confused about. And I would really like Sonia or Tamsin even to come out and say why. Like, I do understand that Yomi and Tammy do have a connection because they played together at Thunder Next Gen, but I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think to me, I can't understand why Jada Pekova wouldn't be in the side. And I think also it's the communication piece that's missing. And I feel like that's jargon in itself, communication piece. But it is the explanation. And because that just seems like such a slight on NSL that these players aren't included. I agree with you. I think Gracie is really young for an under 21 tournament. So I assume that there is also, actually, we should say, Kerry, this squad has travelled. They travelled before the start of this season of NSL. So they went down under, they played Australia, they played New Zealand, and they would have been in camp and likely would have done trials. So it's not that I don't doubt the process and what the coaches have been looking at and seeing and understanding and connections, as you pointed to there with the Thunder combo. But it's just explaining that, I think, would go a really long way to just getting our heads around why. Again, I think for me it's exactly the same. The young player of your domestic league, the award winner for that, doesn't end up in your under 21 squad when they're eligible. Just is like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a bit of a miss, actually, I think, on that front. But otherwise, like, there will be some faces that people who do watch NSL will be familiar with. Izzy Phillips is in there. We spoke about Anya Williams, Selena Appleby-Prince, Sophie Barron, and then Sophie Kelly as well. And then some next gen players that if those people are tuning into that, they'll definitely recognise some of these names. But I think, though, Kerry, when you see that squad, you're like, oh, that's fun and that's exciting, and there are some really cool names in there. But when you see what Australia have got, whoo,
Yeah.
that's it's going to be fun for this lot to come
Yeah.
up against.
That's going to be a team that's going to take some beating. Yeah.
With Olivia
Oh,
Wilkinson
wow.
is in there.
Yeah.
A bunch of SSM players actually
Uh,
are in there.
yeah, I mean, Australia generally are the teams to beat in the under 21s. And obviously, I think by England going out, what was it, January, February this year, that was probably really good preparation for that. And obviously, really pleasing that they did do that. I would have fancied England's chances a little bit more if they had have taken Jada in there. It just seems, yeah, it's an interesting one. And well, I guess, who knows what's going to happen in the next 8 weeks, and we'll just see how they go, and fully behind them. And that does need to be said that, they've got some brilliant players in there, and I'm sure that every single one of them deserves to be there, and they'll go out there and they'll do everything they can to come home with a gold on that one. And hopefully I'll be able to watch it and cheer them on, and just hope that they do the best that they can and come home with, well, hopefully gold, obviously, but I think that's probably going to go to Australia. So
some silverware.
Yeah, we'll get
Lovely.
something of some colour. Yeah, just like the last team that went out in, was it 2017, the last team, I think it was?
Yes, it really
That was
was that
Gabby
long.
Marshall's age group, I think.
Yeah, it's been a really long time, and what I meant earlier about like marketing and branding, like this is a massive opportunity for young netballers, for an audience to connect with some young netballers that hopefully will be around for a really long time. So I'd love to see a concerted effort to try and really introduce these players, get to know them, and for us to understand the landscape of what netball's going to look like. Like, these are going to be the future stars, in theory, anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we just thought we'd chuck that one in there because that was a bit of news that came out
Yeah.
at the time while we were off. But also some international netball dates have come up, making this window a really exciting one. So September, as we said, would be World Youth Cup, but also sort of right in between that is New Zealand versus South Africa in New Zealand. Now these two haven't come up against each other. Um, I'm going to say since the World Cup. So this could be really, and the World Cup was quite a memorable one, Kerry,
Oh,
because that
yes.
was I was there in Cape Town, and everybody was on their feet
That
screaming.
Marweni intercept. Yeah. Unreal.
So good, it was so good.
Oh.
And I think South Africa, we've certainly been saying on this podcast, are very exciting as a side. I don't think are they're better than fifth. It feels like, even though that's where they sit, the talent in that team is going to take some stitching together, of course, but that'll be a very exciting one. October, Australia versus South Africa. So the Proteas are on the move. They're going to crossing the Tasman to play Australia. Then we get the Constellation Cup. Just amazing netball. Looking forward to that one. And interesting to me also that New Zealand are getting a run out against South Africa first before, and then Australia get them, and then they meet. So it's good for both of them to have a hit out, I think, before they go up against each other. And then EMNA, mixed versus Australia mixed. Kerry, you can tell us a bit more about that one.
Yeah, I'm really, well, obviously it was only announced last week. I'm really excited to see what happens and what teams. I do know that there will be selectors at Nationals this weekend. Having a look over, particularly over the women. I think the men are pretty much kind of selected. I don't think it's the Thorns, but I don't want to put my foot in it too much. But yeah, definitely some selectors to look over women. So ladies, if you're at Nationals this weekend, best foot forward, because you may be in line.
Pay attention.
I believe it's mid to late October. I don't know the dates exactly, but it is in the latter half of October from what I've been told. So
Okay, well, so I think it's TBA, in fairness to you, but that would leave some breathing room, I think, after the. Oh no, actually, I didn't write. I don't think I wrote the dates down, but it might overlap with Cotton Cup. But more netball, the more netball, the better, I think. Right?
exactly, yeah.
Excellent. Then November, New Zealand travel to the Northern Hemisphere and they play Scotland in Scotland, which I think is a great opportunity for the Thistles. And then England get their chance against New Zealand. So New Zealand are very busy this this calendar, aren't they? And that'll be a 3-game test series against England. I think between Manchester and London, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
And then we get the Celtic Cup, which is sort of like, it includes Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, but it's kind of an invitation to other teams around the world. And so this time we've got Zimbabwe, Uganda, and Namibia dropping by, which will be really interesting because, there's a focus on that top 5, top 6, but it's also great competition underneath that. And that's kind of what that second layer looks like. And with the Commonwealth Games, as we're saying, the big beast in the background, this will be quite interesting to see where everybody's at. December is Jamaica time for England, so they travel to the Caribbean and then they come back to the UK. And I really like this test series. I think it's a brilliant one. Kerry, what do you make of it? The going to and fro.
I like it. I just also think it's incredibly important that Jamaica do get to play some home test matches because they generally travel elsewhere. So I do think it's important that they get to play at home in front of their fans. I enjoyed it last year. I think it was back to back at the AO in Manchester last year. And then the next weekend they went out to Kingston. and I quite like that this year it's the opposite way around. That'll be nice. Girls get a little bit of sun in December as well, which I'm sure they're absolutely thrilled about. But yeah, I think it's really important that Jamaica do continue to play test matches. And I also think it's really good for them this year because I'm going to assume they're going to be without Shamira because I don't think she won't have had the baby, or it wouldn't have been long since she had it. So it's actually really good for them this year to play that series without her, to then see their other options. Obviously, Katie Ann will obviously have a lot to do in that series, but interesting. And obviously, no Jodie Ward either. So we'll see what other hidden talents that Rob Wright can unearth in the absolute powerhouse that is Jamaica.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, as you say, that that defense end looks a little different. But I mean, Latanya Wilson for me is just an unbelievable. Like, I think this year has just been like having gone her domestic season without Shamira to see her internationally as well without Shamira, what that looks like. But you almost want to copy and paste her 3 times because I mean she can play across all 3 positions, right? She's so good.
So versatile. Just I wouldn't be surprised if she can play centre really well as well. To be honest with you,
I
um,
bet they've tried it.
it wouldn't surprise me.
And that, I think, it looks, that's what we know, but I would guess there's still more to come for January, because we haven't really got too much about that coming out. But I think there'll be more to come from rumors and whispers
Yeah, I
things.
mean there usually is something
There usually
in January, much to Karen Gregg's dismay. But yeah, there usually is something, and it's also interesting to me to note that England are not going away.
yes.
They normally go to Australia or New Zealand in September, October, so it's very interesting to me that they're not. So I just wonder whether that January series will be international for England, or whether they will go back to the old with the Nations Cup, or whether they don't, whether maybe they're going out to Australia. But really pleasing to see New Zealand playing a little bit more. Obviously you can definitely tell it's a Com Games set up season. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what January is going to be now. I haven't heard the rumours, so I'm quite jealous that you have.
Well, I think I'm agreeing with you on that front with in terms of England not going away, because there's as much as like I think with international netball, I'm sure like Jess Thirlby and the performance team will be looking at markers they want to be hitting against certain teams at certain points as they build up to a big international, but it's also in the interest of who they're playing, whether they want to be played. So
Yeah.
perhaps Australia have gone, don't need to play you anymore. We've played you enough. We're okay with what the intel that we have, or, you know, those are, I think, conversations that are also happening. So that's why
Mhm.
I'm sure, yeah, I think Jamaica for a long time was a team. New Zealand really wanted to get their hands on and play, and Australia as well feel that they want that exposure because they don't get it. I mean, they have SSN, but it's not the same. Whereas England, obviously, with this Horizon series, have really like locked in on that and guaranteed that exposure to Jamaica for I think it was 4 years, isn't it? The Horizon series. So that's really it is very intriguing, and I think it is more of a chess game than people realize in terms of on a strategic point. And then there's also financially
Yep.
what that looks like too, and whether you know your opponent wants to host you or whatever for whatever reason. So yeah, I mean basically what we're saying is there is a lot of netball
There
to
is.
watch.
Yeah, it's certainly filling a gap anyway.
The little void that August kind of was.
Yeah.
A void for playing netball, but not for netball news, as we've kind of covered in this sort of really long episode
Yeah.
that we've put out. But I think it's just super exciting time. As I think that's the big takeaway from this conversation, Kerry, is that there's been a lot going on.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting summer. I've, thoroughly enjoyed just kind of reading all the different bits of speculation and kind of getting involved a little bit in it. That's really nice. But just, yeah, having a little bit of fun with it. And I certainly feel like this has been the season where it's been the biggest sort of engagement with people, not necessarily from the clubs, unless you're Central Pulse, obviously, but certainly the fans. I think this is the most that I've seen people talking, but I think that's purely down to the amount of movement that's gone on, particularly in SSN, and yeah, just exciting to see the final spots being filled on SSN teams and NSL teams, and yeah, more international netball.
From what we know of the SSN teams, who are you picking for your win? Who do you think is going to take it?
Oh, see, that's really tough. I think I'm gonna have to go. My heart wants to say Vixens, but I think it's going to be Thunderbirds.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
You know, actually, what we kind of missed about the Vixens is that there's no international players in that team. They won the title without any imports.
Yeah.
And they're going again without any imports. And then you've got the Fire Ferns that are just import heavy. So yeah, it's just super compelling to see that, and very much looking forward to what NSL still has to chuck up. And we'll be back to talk about that when that comes. But before then, Kerry, best of luck with the weekend.
Thank you.
Hope it is playing and coaching. That's no small thing. So wish you all good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming on. See you soon.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.